Hi, welcome to another in our series of ISMM Level 5 Diploma in Sales and Marketing, Unit 501, Understanding and Developing Customer Accounts. Today we're going to talk about part of the learning outcome 2, which is understanding customer support issues. And in particular, we're going to be taking a look at Michael Porter's value chain. Learning outcome 2. Well, 2.1 talks about evaluating how organizations develop product or service specifications for buying purposes. 2.2 talks about evaluating how the technical and resource support provided by own organization adds value for the customer. And lastly, 2.3 is how evaluating competitive practices relating to the decision-making processes. And Porter's value chain is a great tool to help us understand many of these areas. Very much the secret of account management is being able to provide the right service at the right time, in the right place, for the right price. This means very much the holistic view of the organization needs to be addressed. It very much needs to understand each unit and how each unit comes together to create something bigger than the sum of all of the parts. And hopefully the next few minutes will help you understand a little bit more about this. So Michael Porter, he created the value chain model in his book, Competitive Advantages, Creating and Sustaining Superior Performance in 1985. And very much the idea of the value chain is how to break down an organization's activities into relevant pieces, giving you a much bigger picture of the cost drivers and the sources of differentiation. They're the two areas. It's really about understanding how do we add value by reducing cost, and how do we differentiate ourselves from our competitors. What's quite important to understand is that even though the model looks like it just takes separate departments, it's about the organization's systems, not necessarily about the organization units and departments. So for example, when we look at logistics, it's not the logistics department, it's about the supply chain, very much, which could include of course a number of different departments. So what is a value chain? Well, a value chain is a set of activities that an organization carries out to create value for its customers. And very much the Porter model is a generic purpose model that can be used for any organization. One of the downsides, I guess, of the model, it's very much weighted towards a manufacturing business. Therefore, service-based industries, I personally don't think it applies as well. However, you can take the model and use it for those sort of businesses. And very much the way it works is that each of the activities, Porter calls them activities, each of the activities determines the cost and how it affects profits. So very much you can understand how the margins of your business operate and how that relates to the end customer. So as I said, there are very much two activities that Porter talks about. One is the primary activity, and second is the supporting activity. Well, what are they? Well, the primary activities relate directly to the creating, selling, maintaining, and supporting your product or service. So very much taking in the product, selling the product, getting it ready for the end user, and getting it out to that product, out to that customer, and then maintaining and looking after it once the customer's bought it. The support activities are all of the functions that go towards helping the primary functions operate. So very much the procurement, HR, recruitment, getting the right people in to do the jobs. So we'll take a look at those sort of areas in a bit more detail in a moment. But first of all, let's look at the primary activities. And very much the key areas that Porter talks about are internal logistics. This will be, if you like, the goods in. This is the way that we take products, that we store them, and then we distribute them around the business internally. So very much looking at the processes that you need to drive to get that supply chain working for goods coming into the business. The second one is the operations. Well, the operations is how do we transform from the raw materials into a product that we can now go out there and sell. So it's the operations process that takes the raw materials once they've come into the organization and put them out to the customer. Marketing and sales, well, their job, of course, is to take a look at the product and understand how we can reach out to our customers, to get our messages across to our customers, to demonstrate to our customers that this is the product that they want. Outbound logistics, well, that's if you like goods out. So once we've created the product and we've sold the product, how do we then deliver them to our customers? And lastly, service. Once the customer has received the goods, how do we ensure that we maintain the value of the product through our after-sales care? So they're very much the areas, the five primary activities that Porter talks about. In terms of the support activities, he talks about procurement, if you like, the purchasing that the organization needs to do to get those raw materials into the company. He talks about HR, human resource management. This is how well a company hires, trains, rewards, retains its workforce. It talks about the technological development. So the activities that result to maintaining, processing information, as well as ensuring that the customer's knowledge base is robust. And lastly, it talks about very much the support systems that will help an organization run. And lastly, it talks about the infrastructure, the general infrastructure of the business that you need to operate to ensure a smooth running organization. So they're the primary support functions, the four main support functions that Porter talks about. So what's the purpose of all of this? Well, it's quite simply two things. One, cost advantage. Secondly, differentiation advantage. The whole idea, as I mentioned at the very beginning, is taking a look at the primary functions and the support activities and understanding how can we reduce costs. And he identified in the support functions 10 areas that could be focused on. For example, economies of scale, or is there a way that we could link into departments together to improve our processing. So very much taking a look at the whole business, the holistic view of all of these systems and understand how can we get a cost advantage? How can we reduce the costs? The second part of it is how can we do these better than the organizations that we are competing against? So again, taking a look at each of the separate primary and support activities and understanding what is it that we do here? How did the other business relate to this? And what is the quality assurance that we have in this area? And is this as good as or better than the organizations that we are in competition with? Based on that, it starts to give you a uniqueness within the marketplace. It starts to give you key differentiation points that your sales team can then start to go out to market with. You very much start to understand as a business how you can streamline the organization, become much leaner, and really understand exactly how you can drive a value-added product at low cost. So hence the reason why your margins can be greatly improved. So Porter is a really interesting tool. It's been used now for supply chain, pretty much executives over the last 30 years, well, 40 years, and it's making a huge impact into organizations. So what I'd urge you to do is take a look at your organization, think about the different areas, the different functions, the different activities, and simply take a look. how can we reduce cost, and how can we differentiate ourselves. Out of that, you'll get a series of activities, which actually a lot of them may all start to come into 2 or 3, which truly can work as a project group. So good luck, and next time we'll talk a little bit more about learning outcome 2. Thank you for watching.